Hey yo, Gatorade just put out a new spot with Kendrick Lamar as part of their Lose More, Win More campaign. It's pretty dope too, so let's talk about it.
Pickable.
So yeah, like I said, man, Gatorade teamed up with Kendrick for their Lose More, Win More campaign. This campaign is part of their larger brand platform, Is It In You? Now, if that name or if that tagline kind of rings a bell, that's because it's been around for Gatorade for decades. I think it went away for a little bit and now they brought it back and now they've got some creative to support it and it's pretty dope. So if we look at the commercial itself, right, you'll notice that it opens up with this archival footage of the University of Florida, which in fact is where Gatorade was invented, right? They came up with that as a way to replenish players and hydrate them during the game. So Kendrick's voiceover is kind of narrating the story. Then, as we shift into the second half of the commercial, you see some of the Gatorade stars of today, like Asia Wilson, Jason Tatum, Luka Doncic, Shador Sanders, just to name a few. Can't forget Caitlin Clark, of course. She's been killing it. And yeah, all of them are under the Gatorade roster now, and Kendrick is just doing this dope narration, basically reinforcing this competitive spirit, right? Now, this is a really dope campaign for Gatorade because, again, Gatorade, sports, competition, all of that is in the cultural zeitgeist. And then when we think about hip hop, right, specifically with Kendrick Lamar, we know this has been like the most competitive year of his career in terms of the battle that he just had with Drake. On Not Like Us, he even had a lyric that was, fetch Gatorade or something, right? So it was really dope of the brand to reach out to him to see if they could get something going. Because too often, at least personally, I've seen in advertising that brands will have moments like that. And not even that they don't attempt to follow up. Some of them just like kind of just will be like, why should I? It's kind of weird attitude, but I just mind the business that pays me and I leave it alone. But if you have a moment like that, you should probably reach out. You're leaving a lot of earned PR on the table. But I digress. So Gatorade brand reached out to Kendrick. Who knows? Well, obviously the conversations went well, but who knows how that conversation went? This all came together, and it's really dope. One thing I do want to point out about the campaign is I'm curious to know if this was something they were seeding as far back as the Super Bowl, because of course during one of the spots where they announced that SZA was co-headlining the Super Bowl with him or guest starring, she poured Gatorade on him. Just like they do in sports, just like they do in football when you win a Super Bowl. And I thought that was interesting. It just looked like a really interesting like teaser post. And sometimes when you're setting up a campaign, you'll drip it out like that. You'll do a teaser post here, the full spot a couple months removed. So I'm wondering about that. But another nice touch of this campaign that I thought was really dope is that Peekaboo by Kendrick Lamar has been on, it's been on TikTok going crazy. It's a viral sound, and the brand really tapped into that. So we know they're trying to reach Gen Z in a culturally relevant way. That's what the CEO of Gatorade has said. But again, having these little moments where you can like thread the story in an interesting way is pretty dope. So they've got Kendrick Lamar in the middle of like this competitive moment of his career. They've got the Peekaboo song, which is going crazy on TikTok. They've got the Gen Z icons like the Asia Wilsons of the world who's going crazy with Nike. So all of this is a great recipe that makes for a really dope moment on social media, probably translates into a ton of eyeballs. And all around, it's a good moment for the brand. Now, with all that in mind, that brings us to what can brands learn from this, right? I think the main thing is that brands can learn that, all footage has a use. All creative, even the unused creative, is useful, especially if you're a hip hop head, right? Like, digging them crates, digging them crates. If you're working on a brand, like when you consider the fact that Gatorade is refreshing this platform for a new generation, right? The first thing, or one of the things they did because it's out in the world, is they went into the crates. They dug in the crates, they got the footage, they paired it with a VO, which is a really clever way to work with someone who's culturally relevant, who's on fire right now. Because if I had to guess, probably trying to nail 2 or 3 days to do a production shoot in between finishing up an album, going to the Super Bowl, planning a tour, etc., etc., they probably weren't able to get that time. Or it might have cost too much to have bro do the appearance, but the voiceover is something that he could literally do from his iPhone on the tour bus and then send it in, and then all they have to do is pair it with that footage. Now, imagine if the brand, like an idea like this could probably die really easy if like it relies on like that production shoot with him. But it was able to succeed because whoever on the team, whether it was the people at TBWA Shy Day or at Interscope and Capital or at PG Lang, someone or at Gatorade, someone had the clever idea to say like, yo, let's tell the story of the brand and let's go back into the archives and really pull out this original footage. And it makes even more sense again because you're considering the Is It In You platform coming back for its second year. And I think more brands need to do this. It seems like Gatorade low key kind of followed the blueprint that Sprite kind of laid, right? Sprite brought back Obey Your Thirst. They looked in the crates. Grant Hill commercial in 1994 got refreshed for 2024 with Anthony Edwards. So there's a lot of dope work out here where people are recognizing that they can look in their archives and just reimagine greatness, so to speak. Oh boy, tagline, pun intended. But yeah, with that said, man, the archival footage thing is a really dope add-in. And two, I think brands are also learning that, you don't necessarily have to find a way to insert yourself in controversy to kind of latch on to the energy of the moment, right? And you don't really want to latch on because that's like some vampire stuff. You want some sinner stuff right there. You really want to exist in the same space, but don't do so in an intrusive way. And I think that's what Gatorade did here, right? They know that this dude over here is doing some stuff. He's got some stuff going on with another MC. And they, rather than inserting themselves in that with like a cheeky tweet and saying, oh man, things are crazy, people not like us, and doing that corny shit, instead they said, yo, this guy's a competitor, man. Let's insert him over here in this kind of way and highlight that he's actually, about competition, right? I say that because I think a lot of brands are trying to go like the Duolingo route or like the Wendy's route, where they feel like in order for a brand to exist in cultural conversations, they have to be dunking on somebody. I don't think that's the case, and I just think it's corny in general for brands to exist in those kind of ways. Like especially if like there's nothing wrong with having like a brand mascot do your thing. Brand mascots are cool; they've been around forever, but I just think sometimes it's corny, and yeah, you ain't got to do things like that. So yeah, with that said, man, this is another episode of Beats and Billboards. I will see y'all next week. Peace.